Good evening, everybody. Welcome into the Michigan Basketball Postgame Live. Michigan in Champaign in their penultimate regular season Big Ten game, needing a win against the Fighting Illini, and they had many chances, but in the end, they lose it in double overtime by the final of 91-87. You get a game like this, you can go back and look at a lot of different things where it could have ended up being Michigan on the winning side. I think for me, I go back and think about Michigan being up 7 points in the first overtime. They're in great position to win the game, and uh, Illinois able to scrap back and get it to double OT. And then, there were a few shots. Joey Baker had a shot at the end of double overtime. I mean, wide open. Nothing you could ask for more than as a 3-point shooter being wide open at topside. It was, I'd say it was shades of Franz Wagner against UCLA in the tournament a couple years ago to get Michigan to the Final Four. You could ask Franz, hey, where do you want the ball out there to shoot a three to send you to the Final Four? Franz would have walked right up and said, I want to shoot it right here. I think if they asked Joey Baker, hey, Joey, you can get the ball anywhere you want, wide open for a three-pointer to try to tie this game, I think Joey Baker would have walked right out there and said, give me this shot right here. So he had it and wasn't able to make it. He had another one in overtime that would have been big for Michigan. Doug McDaniel had a wide open three in the first overtime where he hits that one. Any of those shots go in, we're either still playing or Michigan's, when you think about the overtime, that they would have been able to win it. That's where they're going to kick themselves when they look back when they're up 7 in overtime, not being able to get the job done and get it to the finish line there. Hunter Dickinson, for as great as he was in this game, he missed a free throw in to tie this one up, which was big in this game as well. But he was such a monster in this one, and for a lot of it, let's go through it. We always take your feedback, take your calls. We do all of that. We're here after every Michigan basketball game. Michigan fighting for their NCAA tournament lives, and throughout this one, as I'm watching it, Michigan stays at with 17 wins, which they're still have a shot. They're not completely out of it, but this one was right there. Boy, you feel it like slipping through your fingers and all of that. But great effort, and now they'll have to have that same kind of effort coming up Sunday against Indiana if they want to win that game. And then they'll need to have that kind of effort and more in Chicago if they want to get to the weekend, and then if they want to play in the NCAA tournament. I mean, that's where we're sitting. In this game here, Illinois was a 5-point favorite. Michigan had a nice start, and they had a pretty good first half, but they were down by 2. Hunter Dickinson had 9 points. Doug McDaniel had 7. One thing that was noteworthy for U of M late in the half, Jet Howard went down and he called a timeout so he wouldn't get a tie up and Michigan would be able to keep possession. And then with, under 10 seconds to go, Juwan Howard used another timeout before the half, with left Michigan with just 1. And you wondered if that was going to end up and come back and bite them. It didn't in this one. In the second half, it looked like Illinois was going to win it. They got up by 9, but Michigan came back behind Kobe Buffkin, who had an outstanding second half, and got Michigan up 1. And then it wasn't looking good because Illinois, expanded their lead back up to 7. But Jet Howard hit a 3 to tie things up. Hunter Dickinson had a huge block. Hunter Dickinson had an opportunity in regulation down on the block there to win this game. Michigan in a great spot. They were in that great spot in regulation. They were in that spot in overtime where, they hit the shot. They end up winning it. We all know that didn't happen. In that single overtime, this is the one again. Dickinson comes out big in the overtime with Michigan, gets him up 7 points, but then Terrence Shannon Jr., the slasher for Illinois, was attacking, and he got Illinois back even. Joey Baker had that chance to win it, In overtime, he wasn't able to connect. A little bit before that, Doug McDaniel had as wide open as a three as you're ever going to get. If he hits that one, I think Michigan's going to win it. This is the frame. This is the one. If you're going to go back and if you were explaining someone, hey, what happened? How many chances did Michigan had? Well, they had one in regulation with Dickinson to win the game. Joey Baker had a look in overtime to win the game. Doug McDaniel in that overtime had a wide open three to really put Michigan in great position. And then they had to go to double OT, and U of M got down 5 quick. But then Hunter Dickinson, he had some free throws. I had a layup. And, the Mayer just kept, chucking up threes left and right. I mean, give it to the monster. I don't know how many, if he slammed a couple monsters there in the double OT, but, he was a broken record, everything. He just kept casting up three after three after three. And Hunter Dickinson, with 42 seconds to go, gets an and one. And he toes the line to step up there to tie the game at 88, but he missed the free throw, and this is how it came down, and this is how it ended up being Illinois' game. Illinois comes down, they drain the clock, they shoot a topside three, they miss it, but they get the rebound, they get the offensive rebound, they make the free throws to go up 3, but Michigan still with a chance. They run it into the forecourt, into the front court, take a timeout, 6.3. However, Michigan drew it up to get Joey Baker wide open topside. You couldn't ask for a better shot ever. If you're U of M to tie this one up, we should be in triple overtime right now. And Joey Baker, unfortunately, came up short with that three-pointer. And there we are. Woo! Man, I think I talked 7 minutes straight without even taking a breath, So, wow. It was a thriller in Champaign, Michigan, not able to get it done. Jet Howard says, I don't understand that one. He was proud of Kobe. D's looking at Joey Baker, that last shot. Wish we had a couple more players. We might be a good squad if we had a full starting 5 and some bench players. Just not good enough. D's not liking Jet Howard and the shots that he was taking. Jet Howard, there were a lot of people. I was getting a text through the game, and this was said before, Michigan's a better team without Jet Howard. And then, Jet Howard hit a big 3 in regulation, and then Jet Howard hit a big 3 in overtime. But you know what? Jet Howard also got a little clumsy with the ball and ended up getting a tie up with that 7-point lead and also missed another shot in there. That wasn't a very good one where, you feel like maybe, I don't know, you say more focused or whatever else. But, I hear people on that, he's not a great defender. What he does is, he shoots, he's offense. And, people are going to be on him. And that's kind of the way. And I think there's a little bit of a point to it, not, he's the worst player or he's just offense or he's the reason that they lost because he made a lot of big shots, but he's just, the style that he plays, I think it rubs people a little bit the wrong way. And then, of course, with him being out, Michigan won the games. And then, he comes back and they lose. So, you're going to look for someone or, something. And for me in this one, I'm looking to, if you're looking for somebody, you're going to look to this. As great as Dickinson played tonight, he's got to make that free throw to tie things up at 42 seconds. You're also looking where you have to get the missed three-pointer in a 1-point game. And you also, when you're Joey Baker, he had 2 shots to win the game for Michigan and 2 clean looks. And one, the cleanest look, I mean, you can ask how many times they're going to say it. I'll say it for the 3rd time. You couldn't ask for a better 3-point shot. And he had one in regulation as well. I mean, he was brought in to knock down 3-pointers. And he had 2 glorious looks to One, win the game. The last one would have got him into double overtime, triple overtime. I'm sorry, but you got to make those shots. So, like, a lot of when I say blame to go around, Baker's got to make those shots. Dickinson's got to make his free throws. Jet's got to be a little tighter with the ball. Doug McDaniel had a shot in the first overtime wide open. I mean, he sat there like he was on the free throw line with that three. He's a good player. You need to make that kind of shot if you want to win on the road and get into the NCAA tournament. So there's 4 guys for you. You want to go down and hit on some other ones. Antoine saying that he thinks Jet pulled some of what Kobe Bryant back in the day when Kobe was ball hogging and they were complaining and he shut down his team. I think Jet did somewhat of the same thing, I think is what you're talking about. Yeah, look, like I said, when the season looks like it's not over, it just feels like it is tonight. So you're going to look at, Jet, and you're going to look at Joey. And, you don't want to look at Hunter. You don't want to look at, Doug. I don't want to look at anything else that went out there. I mean, it was a game. I'm not putting Jet up at the top and saying, he's the number one reason, that Michigan ended up winning this game. You want to look for one single guy? Look for the guy that missed those wide open shots at the end of regulation and at the double OT. That's where you want to look. Big Meek saying he liked the ball movement where everybody at least touches the ball once. Yeah. Hey, there was, there were a lot of times I sat there in the second half of this game as I was watching it and I was making notes. And it was when Michigan, they had Kobe Buffkin. I was going to call him Kobe Bryant. Kobe Buffkin, who played fabulous in that second half and got Michigan when they were down 9 and, hit a bunch of shots in a row and got Michigan up 1 with 7.5 to go. And I was like, wow, look at, man, Kobe Buffkin. What a hell of a player. What a hell of a game. And then Dickinson missed 2 free throws. And then Buffkin had what you would say wasn't, I'd say, a bad shot, an ill-advised shot. He was all by himself, like, posting up from like 12 feet away and, throwing, these different, like, shake moves and ends up, fading away and missing it. That wasn't a very good shot. Terrace Reed fouled the 3-point shooter. You're looking at it. Dickinson in between there had a couple tip-ins. One that was pretty controversial and everything else. But I'm watching and it's saying, when Michigan runs something like where they pass and they run something through and they seem like they get a shot for somebody, there's much more flow. It feels much better, the offense, when they come down and on the other way, they seem like they just throw it over to somebody and people kind of clear out for them. And when you miss shots like that, it drags the team down and it drags you down as you watch. I mean, you can just feel, the energy kind of getting sucked out of you. But, here they were making plays to put themselves in position to win the game. They just needed somebody to step up and make one more play. And Baker had a number of opportunities. Dickinson had a number of opportunities in there as well. And they just couldn't get it done. Woo! So that's it. DN, the tournament was in our grasp. And then the team has lost 8 close games, raised their ugly heads up again. Corey chalking it up to rebounding and free throws. Scott saying the old band is back together, back to losing. Why was Baker taking the last shot? Coming off the bench, Kobe should have been featured on that last play. Well, maybe we get back to Hoosiers and, you're sitting over there and Jimmy Chitwood, everybody knows the ball's going to go to him. And then you're like, hey, let's get Johnny instead. Everybody's going to go with Jimmy, throw it over to Johnny. And there he was wide open. Of course, he airmailed it. And maybe they should have taken a page from Hoosiers because Kobe would have been, I'll make it. It doesn't matter. what happens there. So, I mean, I get it. It's hard for me to complain when you get a 3-point specialist, a 3-point shooter with no time on the clock to send it to triple overtime with your season hanging in the balance, and you throw it to him, and he can catch, he can look, whoo, that he's taken that shot a million times, and he came up short. I get it. I know what you're saying, but like I said, I can't. I mean, I can blame him for missing the shot. Can I blame Michigan for drawing it up and getting Joey Baker that shot? I'm not going to do that. If it was something like where they threw it to him and he was 26 feet away and he had somebody in his face, you'd say, hey, how about just forcing it to Kobe Buffkin or something like that? But I mean, like, you drew that thing up as perfect as you could draw it up. And you got the exact kind of shot that you wanted. Let's go. That wasn't Terrace Reed Jr., shooting a 3-point. That's Joey freaking Baker. Joey Buckets. It's one of the guys that you want. I don't know. Big Meek thought it would have been Kobe as well. Let's see. Dickinson definitely had opportunities with the last shot to win the game. We know that. Baker had two. He had one to win the game, one to tie the game. Hunter had one to win it. Baker had one to win it. Hunter had one to win it. And Baker had one to send it to triple overtime. Tough. OT. I see a theme here. Should have been Kobe. Big Meek, Juwan has to get better in the big-time coaching spots. Well, you might say that, but this is the game that I'm not really sure that you use to say that about Juwan Howard. Excuse me. I like, you want him to get better in situational possessions. This was not the game. I think people say that a lot. This was not the game for me that you said that about Juwan Howard. I thought Michigan looked really good possession in situational spots here tonight. Now, if you say, what do you mean? They should have got the ball to Kobe. Then you're not listening. That's what I have to say. I'll say it again. I didn't have any problem with getting a wide open Joey Baker topside 3 to send it to triple overtime. Not me. Let's look at some of these numbers in the game. Dickinson ends up with 29 and 15. Kobe Buffkin with 23 and 4. Jett Howard, 15 and 5. Doug McDaniel, 9 points, 2 boards, 1 of 4 from downtown. Cheddar was in the starting lineup, did not score. TW2 was back. He had 6 points, 5 boards. Terrace Reed, 3 points, 6 boards. And here's Joey Buckets, 0 of 3 from downtown, 0 of 4 from the floor. No points. Jace played. He didn't score either in this one. And, Michigan's got to regroup, and they got to play like they did tonight, coming up on Sunday. And AJ saying Juwan Howard burned all of his timeouts in the first quarter and only had 1 at the end of the game. That's bad X's and O's. Well, you can say that, except it didn't cost him at all. He didn't need any of those timeouts, and he had one that in his back pocket that he was able to use. And sure enough, I wouldn't have called that one with Doug McDaniel there. I don't know if anybody would have. Juwan Howard did, and it didn't work out, even though McDaniel got fouled, but he missed the front end of the 1-and-1. But you might not have liked it, but it didn't cost them, and they had a timeout when they needed one. So, you can criticize them there, but if you're going to criticize them and it didn't hurt them at all, they didn't need a timeout. If there was a spot where you'd have said they didn't have a timeout and they were panicking and everything else at the end of the game, you'd say, oh boy, as it was just one of the storylines At the half, Michigan called all their timeouts except one, but they didn't need it. They never called one until the last 10 seconds of regulation to set up the shot to try to win it. So it was perfect execution that way. And they got all those shots, like the shots in regulation and overtime. Like there's a lot of times, like people like you already said it, you didn't want this guy to shoot it. I thought Michigan and Juwan Howard, they got all the kind of shots and they got the ball right into where they wanted it. And I thought that execution and everything, coaching wise, was good. As for as much as people are talking about Jed Howard in regulation, he was on the bench for a big stretch there when Michigan was making that push and able to come back. And then, he came out and dialed a few in. Everybody was like, "Oh, wait a second, I still don't like him." That's I don't know. No, a little bit of that one. Let's see what OT has to say. Beat IU and win at least one in the Big Ten tournament, and they are in the dance. I think they beat Indiana. Yeah, well, I don't know if you've been listening to me, OT. Everybody has their opinion on that. I think there is a chance if they do what you say here, win on Sunday, and then win their opening game in Chicago, that would put them at 19. I will think they'll be right there on the bubble, and they would be in with a chance. If they do that, I don't think you can be really upset if they're left out and they're like one of the teams that are snubbed. If they get to 20, I think you could feel like they're snubbed. And, I'm telling you, don't feel like they're snubbed if they get to 19. Hell, hopefully they're able to get to 19. BK says ultimately it comes down to coach and situational awareness. Well, that's what basketball comes down to. But the situational awareness was good tonight for Michigan and their coaching staff. Ultimately, this game came down to, and not to sound like, Captain Obvious or anything, basketball comes down to make a shot, miss a shot. It comes down to get it to Hunter Dickinson with the time running down. You have a shot to win it, and he misses. You got a shot, throw it over to Joey Baker, wide open, miss. You got Doug McDaniel sitting out there wide open from three. Any of those shots are going in. Hunter Dickinson again, make it a free throw. Make your free throws and make your shots. And they were good shots. And Michigan drew them up. They put their players in really good position to get really high percentage shots in the flow of the game to win this game. So, yeah, basketball is coaching and situational awareness and all of that. But it's about stepping up and just making a shot in a big moment. And Michigan coaches had their players in position to make those shots, and they just didn't make them. You want to look back at Howard, and you don't like this, and you don't like all the lineups and everything else. All those things are fine. And when you lose a game, there's going to be things that you're going to point out. But Michigan was in fine position and really good position and did a really good job of putting their players in the positions to win this game, and they just weren't able to come up and do it. That's not on the coach. I mean, you want Juwan Howard to come out there and shoot the free throw for Hunter Dickinson? You want Juwan Howard? I mean, he had Joey Baker wide open. What do you want to do about that? I mean, if you can't throw it to your three-point specialist with a game on the line because, you feel like, oh, he's going to airmail one, what are we even doing here? I mean, if that was Dickinson again, you could say, oh, I don't want Hunter Dickinson shooting the three. I don't want Terrence Reed Jr. shooting the three. Jed Howard wasn't available. You wanted Kobe or you wanted Joey Baker shooting the three. They got the look. It's unfortunate. Very unfortunate. I don't know, Ty. AJ still talking about the timeouts. He went from not calling timeouts to using too many. Yeah, well, remember one of those was a Jet sliding down and calling it so, he wouldn't get a tie-up. Like I said, why he called it with under 10 seconds to go in the first half, I didn't like that myself, but in the end, it didn't hurt Michigan at all. So there's really nothing that you can say about that except it was a little bit weird. and you wondered if it was going to cost Michigan, and it didn't at all. They had the timeout. They were able to draw something up at the end of regulation, and there you go. Big Meek should have been Kobe, period. Everybody agrees. Everybody except, yeah, well, I mean, me arguing against somebody that airballs a shot at the end of the game, I'm not going to argue. Why would I argue? Sit around arguing that. My argument is that I have a hard time blaming the coach for drawing up a 3-point shooter, giving him a wide open shot. You want to rail on him for that? Go ahead. Do it. You're doing it. It's all right. BK says coach's job is to know who's playing well and insist that last shot goes to that player because their season is on the line. You coach to win. Henry likes that idea as well. You play to win the game with a hot hand. AJ wishes he was a reporter so he could ask Jet why he was throwing temper tantrums. Yeah, I didn't necessarily see the temper tantrum. Big Meek doesn't like my phrasing of calling Joey Buckets a 3-point specialist. He gives me a laughing. I don't know how you describe these other laughing ones, like even funnier than side splitting laughing. That's it. All right. What else do we have here? Well, we do have some other things to show you, like the upcoming schedule for Michigan. It's not much left. I think everybody knows it now. It's brought to you by the Maize and Blue Reviews. Good afternoon. Michigan football and basketball, 1 o'clock weekdays. That means we will be with you here tomorrow. We'll see. Are we going to talk about overnight, 1 o'clock? That should have been Buffkin's last shot. Is that going to be the storyline of the game? Or is it going to be what I'm saying? That Michigan had Dickinson. They had Baker with a couple opportunities. They had 4 or 5 opportunities to win this game. Regulation. And they're going to kick themselves the most. Talk about the Baker airball. Sure. That cost them the game. But talk about being up 7 in overtime and not being able to close it out. That's the one. That's where you need to be putting your focus. Or put it wherever you want. Here's that upcoming schedule. 4:30 Sunday, Michigan's last regular season game of the year in Bloomington Assembly Hall against the Hoosiers, who I thought looked like the best team in the Big Ten when they went into Purdue last weekend and rolled the Boilermakers, only to watch Iowa go into Assembly Hall and smack Indiana upside the head. So I don't know. Michigan shoots well, played desperate. I didn't think Michigan would have a shot last year going to Ohio State without Hunter Dickinson, and they won that game. So when you're playing for your tournament life, and now we've been saying that for like a month, Michigan's playing for their tournament life. And Indiana, I would expect them to play a lot like they did tonight and have an opportunity to win that game. And then, of course, it'll be Chicago, where they can pick up a win Thursday. They can pick up a win Friday. All of a sudden, they will have some momentum. Could they win on Saturday? Could they get to the championship game? They've done it before. Getting ahead of ourselves a little bit, but Selection Sunday, a week from this Sunday, March the 12th. Yeah. Let's get to, I'll give the last word to the people that are here. If you would like to get in and make a point, let's see where people are at, where I left off. Big Meek says all those timeouts, it's pretty obvious the coach didn't prepare the team well for this game and their size. I don't know. Like, Michigan played a really good game. They just weren't able to make the big plays. They had like at least 10 big plays that decided this game, and really 5 glorious opportunities to win it, and they weren't able to do that. So I don't know about it being pretty obvious that the coach didn't prepare the team well, you could take the other side and say that they prepared them pretty well to be able to get them in position to win on the road like that. The coach says he played sports all his life and he knows when a player shut down and doesn't play right. Uh, Not a fan of Jet. Andre says it was a great play drive up. You give your 3-point guy a wide open 3-pointer. Big Meek, our 3-pointer guy, choked majorly. And Antoine is ready for some football. And I get that sentiment. But, they'll have to. What do you say in sports? What do you say? They got to regroup. And they got to go down to Bloomington and they got to play like they did tonight. And they got to make the plays and come out on top and get some momentum, then taking it into Chicago where they'll have 18 wins in their back pocket, and they don't have to. You don't have to feel like they have to make it all the way to Sunday, which you're banking on that. That's going to be tough. I don't think there were many people that thought that they were going to win both of these games. One of them, and tonight looked like the one that was there for the taking, especially with the point guard being out, Illinois being shorthanded that way. And we all know that they weren't able to do that. So we'll see if they're ready to. We'll see if they're what kind of fight they can show. With now, what will you hear from the team? That nobody believed in us. Everybody counted us out. Everybody thought this season was over. I mean, all of those things are true if you're the player right now, and if you can somehow find a way to win on Sunday, then win a couple games and get into it. When they're sitting there on Selection Sunday and they say things like, "We felt like it was us against the world. That nobody thought we could get in there." I'm going to be saying, you know what, you're right. After the Illinois game, I think a lot of people thought that. So we'll see if they're able to use some of those things that we have seen other teams use in the past in their favor to see if they're going to be in the tournament or not. I'll talk with you at 1:00 tomorrow. The final 91-87 double overtime. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening.